it's time now for Charting Futures. Here's Abigail Doolittle. And Abigail, you're taking a look at tech and more and all these record highs for the sector.
That's exactly right, Joe, because today's gains all about technology, putting in new all-time highs. If we take a look at the NASDAQ 100 futures, we are going to see a 1.1% gain, a record high for the generic there. The S&P 500 tech index also putting in an early record high right around the time of the open, up 1.2%. Two of the big boosts, Apple, another all-time high, and NVIDIA, the chip maker. It's really extraordinary the way that investors are continuing to pile into tech, very similar to 2019. But there is reason to think maybe it'll be earnings season, maybe it'll be something else, that a consolidation, a period of consolidation and pullback could be ahead. This is the S&P 500 tech sector up top in relation to its 200-day moving average in yellow. And you can see for the most part a beautiful trend, actually for the whole thing a beautiful trend, moving in the right direction, the bulls in control. But you can also see that when it gets too far above that 200-day moving average, we did see a period of consolidation, not as much in August and September, but right now above that 200-day moving average by more than 10%, really overextended. That is supported by a bearish RSI there on the bottom and the fact that it's overbought and you have a series of lower highs there. At some point, this chart suggests that tech investors will be taking some money, some chips off the table. To talk more about this, I'd like to bring in Tom Thornton of Hedge Fund Telemetry. And what do you think of that chart? It's pretty extraordinary the way that investors are just going into technology. And it does look like there could be some sort of a pullback or maybe even more ahead.
Well, it's just been extraordinary. And I really think that RSI at 78% is really high. You also have the NASDAQ, in the weekly at like 85%.
And Apple at 90, I think you were saying, on the weekly?
The Apple RSI on the weekly is at 90. So that is just very, very high. I think there's risk. And look, I've been wrong. I thought November we're going to top out around then. It didn't. It kept going, and it surged. It's a bubble, I think.
Well, sometimes these things go further and farther, both to the upside and the downside. So let's take a look at your NASDAQ chart. These are the generics. Your options trade will be on the March contract.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, that's parabolic from basically September to December. Physics, 90-degree angle can't hold. So at some point, some of that's going to be given back.
Right. These squares in here, they have some DeMark upside exhaustion signals that worked out pretty well. This was January of 2018. We had a really sharp drop. And this is a 20-day moving average, which I'm using as a level to watch currently because we're about 3% above it. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's a level to watch after we get these signals. So I think it's important. We'll see what happens. We've got tech earnings coming in the next week and two. I think Apple's later in the month, and that's going to be really important.
So let's put this into the context of your options trade, because of course we want to educate our viewers on the fact that you can trade options on futures. So this is a bearish option strategy on the NASDAQ 100 futures.
Yeah, I think we are a very overbought market with any technical measure you look at, MACD, RSI. It's very similar to 2018. We didn't have earnings growth planned with the tax cuts like we have now, or we didn't have it, or we had it then, but now we don't. Yeah, there we go. But I think I like the March 8,800 puts. You can pay about 164. It's probably moving around, maybe a little less right now, and that's a 20-day moving average, and 2%, 2.5% out of the money. I think that's a good hedge. And directional call.
Well, we will certainly be watching to see what earnings season brings and whether or not that is the trigger and potentially will make that trade a winning trade.